All right, get ready for our deep dive today. We're going deep into AI agents.
Oh, cool.
And this isn't like sci-fi stuff.
Right.
This is like happening now, cutting edge. We're talking AI that can like work in the real world.
Yeah.
Using tools, making choices to, get things done.
Right.
We've got a new white paper from some Google researchers just out last September, and it is packed with details.
It's really a big change from AI just, processing information to like actually changing its environment.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that, like how the paper goes beyond just, the buzzword agent.
Right, right.
It makes it really different from those typical language models.
Yeah, the big difference is that it can like connect to outside tools and information. So like imagine a person using Google search
Right.
or a calculator or, specific software to do a task.
Yeah, yeah.
An AI agent, that's built into it, that resourcefulness.
So it's not just, writing text.
Right.
It's about using information strategically to actually hit a goal. We'll use this chef analogy.
Right, right.
Gathering ingredients,
Right.
following a recipe, adjusting based on what's happening, like that whole process,
Yeah.
which seems to be what the agent's doing.
Yeah, the chef thing is helpful to start, but they're not just following, a set program.
Right.
It's more about understanding the goal and figuring out how to reach it, even if it has to like adapt and learn as it goes, like a chef, getting better over time.
Okay, so let's look a little closer. The researchers, they say there's three main parts of an agent's architecture.
Yeah, the model, the tools, and the orchestration layer.
Okay.
The model is like the brain making the decisions. This could be a general model or one that's tuned for a specific job.
So that's like the intelligence, but it needs, the right tools to actually interact with the world.
Definitely. That's where the tools come in. These tools are what connect the agent to, the outside world. Think databases, APIs, even like physical devices.
Hold on. Physical devices. So not just browsing. These agents could like control things in the real world.
Exactly.
Wow.
Think about smart home devices, responding to you, or even robots in a factory. It really opens up the possibilities.
Yeah. Okay, that's incredible.
Yeah.
But how does the agent know which tool to use, like at any given time?
Well, that's where the orchestration layer comes in. Think of it like the agent's thought process.
Yeah.
How it takes in info, reasons, and decides, what to do next, including which tool is best, keeps everything running smoothly.
Okay, so like brain, the tools, and then the conductor.
Right.
I'm starting to get it. The paper goes on to, talk about different kinds of tools. Can you break down the main categories?
Sure. Extensions, functions, and data stores. Each one has its own, strengths and purpose. Extensions are kind of like pre-built bridges between the agent and specific APIs, like a standardized interface, So the agent can just do stuff like book flights or control those smart home devices we talked about.
Yeah, I was interested in the part about Google's code interpreter. Is that basically giving the agent the ability to write code and like run it?
Yes. It lets the agent generate and run code. So many possibilities for solving problems. But the cool thing about extensions in general is that they like simplify things for the agent. It doesn't have to, understand all the nitty-gritty of each API.
Right, right.
Just how to use the extension.
So it's almost like giving it a set of like specialized tools,
Yeah.
each one for a specific job.
Yeah, that's a good way to see it. Now, functions are different. They give developers more granular control.
Okay.
So, for example, the agent might suggest a function to run on the client side, maybe fetching images from Google Places API based on, the agent's suggestions.
So instead of the agent making the API call, it's like delegating to the client-side app.
Exactly. This can be good for different reasons, including security and situations where, the API call needs to happen at a different layer in the app.
It's really interesting how they've set up the system where, agents can tap into all these different resources and interact with the outside world. What about data stores? What's their role in all of this?
Data stores are really important to keep the agent's knowledge up to date and relevant. They let it access more information than just its initial training data. Stuff like, constantly updating databases or specific documents. Like, imagine giving the agent access to a huge, constantly growing library.
That makes sense. The real world's always changing, so the agent needs to keep up.
Exactly. Data stores are especially important for things like retrieval augmented generation or AGI, make sure the agent's answers are based on the most current and, relevant info available, like having a constantly updated encyclopedia.
Okay, so we've got these amazing tools, but just having a toolbox isn't enough. How do these AI agents actually learn to use them?
Right.
Like effectively. It can't just be trial and error, can it?
No, it's more complicated than that. The researchers, they point out three main learning approaches. They're actually pretty relatable if you think about, say, a chef.
Okay, tell me more about these approaches. I'm curious.
First, in-context learning. Imagine giving the chef a recipe and hoping they can figure it out, right there.
Right.
You give the model examples while it's running and let it learn from them.
So, like, on-the-job training for the AI.
Kind of, yeah. But then there's retrieval-based in-context learning. That's like giving the chef a well-stocked pantry and tons of cookbooks. The agent can use outside knowledge to better understand the task and how to use the tools.
So it's not just relying on, like, its own limited knowledge. It can
Right.
actually go do research.
Exactly. And finally, fine-tuning-based learning. That's like sending the chef to, the best culinary school.
Right.
You pre-train the model on a massive specialized data set beforehand, giving it a deep understanding of the area and the tools it'll use.
So it's like specialized training for the AI agent.
Exactly. Each approach has its own, strengths and weaknesses. And by combining them, developers can make really capable AI agents.
This is all really fascinating, but it also sounds pretty complex.
Right?
Do you have to be like a big tech company with a ton of resources to build these things? Or is it something that, more people can do?
That's a great question. And it's actually becoming more accessible than you might think. Remember that example the researchers talked about, the one built with LangChain? Well, LangChain is open source. Anyone can use it to build their own AI agents. And there are other open source tools and frameworks popping up, too.
So it's making this technology more democratic.
Exactly.
Making it available to more developers and researchers.
Yeah. These libraries, they give you the building blocks to develop AI agents without needing the same, massive resources as starting from scratch.
So it's like a set of pre-made tools that people can use to build their own.
Exactly. This is opening up a lot of possibilities for innovation. Individuals and smaller companies can now explore AI agents and create, solutions just for their needs.
That's really cool. It seems like we're just starting to see what's possible with these AI agents.
Absolutely. As these open source tools get, more refined and easier to use, we can expect to see even more creativity in the field. People experimenting with new ideas, building custom agents for very specific tasks, and sharing their work. It's a very exciting time.
Well, before we get too carried away, let's bring this back to a real-world example. Did the Google researchers talk about any specific uses for these agents in their white paper?
Yeah, they showed an example using LangChain. Imagine a simple agent using Google Search and the Google Places API to answer, a multi-step question about a football game.
Okay, so picture this. A football fan asks something like, who did the Texas Longhorns play last week and where is their opponent's stadium?
Right.
How would the agent handle that?
First, it would use its search tool, powered by Google Search, to find the Longhorns schedule.
Right.
And figure out their opponent from the week before. Then it'd use the Places tool to, find the address of the opponent's stadium.
So it's connecting those two tools to give a full answer to a pretty complex question.
Exactly. This is just a basic example, but imagine what's possible when you make both the agent and the tools it uses more complex.
It feels like we're just at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
So much more to, discover.
Yeah.
But what about taking these prototypes and making them into practical, real-world things? Is anyone actually working on them?
Oh, definitely. The researchers mentioned Google's Vertex AI platform. It's a managed environment specifically designed for building and deploying these sophisticated AI agents. It has user interfaces, evaluation tools, everything you need to take an agent from idea to real-world use.
Sounds like a pro-level toolkit for shaping the future of AI applications.
That's a great way to put it. It shows that Google sees these agents as a really important part of how AI is, evolving.
Right.
And they're putting a lot of effort into making this technology accessible and impactful.
This has been a really insightful look at AI agents. We've talked about the main parts, the different types of tools, the ways they learn, even real-world examples.
Right.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious what you think about the potential impact of all this.
Right.
What are your predictions for the future of this tech?
I think AI agents are a huge step forward in AI. Being able to interact with the real world, use tools, adapt to, changing situations. It opens up possibilities that used to be pure science fiction. We're on the edge of a new era where AI can go beyond just, processing info and actually start shaping the world around us.
It's really exciting, but it also makes you think about the future.
Yeah.
How might these agents change the way we work, learn, even interact with each other?
Right.
What ethical things do we need to keep in mind as this technology, keeps developing?
Right.
We'll dig into those questions more in the next part of our deep dive. But for now, I encourage you to, think about what you've learned and consider how AI agents might affect your own life and the world around you.
Yeah, it really makes you think how these agents could change how we, interact with tech, blurring the lines between digital and uh, physical.
And speaking of blurring lines, the orchestration layer, that's where things get really interesting. This conductor that guides the agent's decisions is using some pretty advanced reasoning.
Yeah, the paper mentions React, chain of thought, and tree of thoughts, which honestly sound more like philosophy than computer science.
It's a bit of both, really. These techniques are about giving agents structured ways to, think and reason. Take React, for instance.
Okay.
It stands for reason and act. It's a framework where the agent basically has an internal dialogue, going back and forth between thinking about the task and deciding what actions to take. So it's not just blindly following orders. It's actually thinking things through.
Yeah, exactly. It can even change its plans based on the feedback it gets from using the tools.
Wow.
Another cool technique is chain of thought prompting. This encourages the agent to break down a complex task into smaller, more manageable steps. Kind of like how we solve a big problem, right? By dividing it into smaller parts.
Yeah. It's like making a mental checklist so you don't miss anything.
Exactly. And then there's tree of thoughts. That's even more intricate. It lets the agent explore multiple paths of reasoning, like branches on a tree, and then it evaluates which path is most likely to, lead to the goal.
It's amazing to think about these agents strategizing and exploring different possibilities. It really pushes the boundaries of what we think of as AI.
It does make you wonder how these, advanced reasoning techniques affect the agent's learning. We talked about in-context learning, retrieval-based in-context learning, and fine-tuning-based learning before. Could you give some examples of how those might work in real-world situations?
Okay, let's imagine we're building an agent to help people plan vacations.
Right.
Within context learning, we might give the agent some examples of successful vacation plans.
Right.
And access to tools for, flight schedules, hotel availability, things like that.
Right.
The agent could then use those examples to create a new plan based on the user's preferences.
It's like learning by watching,
Right.
like an apprentice with a master.
Yeah.
But what if we want to go further? With retrieval-based in-context learning, we could give the agent access to a huge database of travel blogs, destination guides, user reviews, all of that.
So it's like giving the agent a whole research team.
That's a great way to put it. And with fine-tuning based learning, we could train the agent on a massive data set of travel data, flight patterns, hotel pricing, seasonal stuff. This would give the agent a really deep understanding of the whole travel world, so it could make better predictions and suggest more relevant options.
It's incredible how each approach just adds another layer of sophistication.
Right.
But it also makes me wonder, how accessible is all this to people outside of, those big tech companies? Building these agents sounds like it takes a lot of resources and expertise.
It's true that building these sophisticated AI agents used to be something only, companies with huge resources could do. But things are changing fast. Open source libraries like LangChain are making it more accessible to everyone.
Okay.
These libraries provide the building blocks you need to develop agents without needing, the same level of resources as building everything from scratch.
So it's like providing a set of pre-made parts.
Yeah.
That people can use to build their own.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
This is opening up so many possibilities for innovation and experimentation.
Yeah.
Individuals and smaller organizations can explore AI agents and create, custom solutions.
That's inspiring to think about. A future where developing agents isn't limited to just, a few companies, but with this newfound accessibility comes a greater responsibility. We need to make sure these agents are developed ethically. It seems like a delicate balance, pushing the limits of what's possible while also, guarding against potential risks.
You've hit on a really important point. AI agents have a lot of potential benefits, but we have to be careful and think about the ethical side of things.
So what are some key things we should keep in mind as this tech keeps developing?
One crucial area is transparency. As AI agents get more sophisticated, their decision-making can become, harder to understand.
Right.
We need ways to understand how they reach their conclusions, especially when their actions have, big consequences.
It's like we need a window into their thought process to make sure we can understand and check their decisions.
Exactly. Another important thing is control. As we give AI agents more autonomy, we need to set clear limits and ways to keep human oversight.
Right.
This is crucial to prevent things going wrong and to make sure AI agents stay aligned with, human values and goals.
It seems like finding that balance between empowering agents and keeping human control will be a big challenge going forward.
Absolutely. And we need to think about the potential impact on society, too. As AI agents become more capable, they could, change industries, automate jobs, even change how we interact with each other and with tech.
It's a lot to think about.
Mm.
But these conversations are important to make sure we use these powerful technologies the right way.
I completely agree. We need to be proactive and have these open discussions to shape a future where, AI agents benefit everyone.
We've covered a lot in this deep dive.
Yeah.
From the technical details to the broader societal and ethical stuff, it's clear that we're just at the start.
Mm.
And there are both, amazing possibilities and big challenges ahead.
Yeah, it's true. The world of AI agents is changing so fast. It's an exciting time to be following it all.
And for you, our listener, we hope this deep dive has helped you understand this incredible tech better. AI agents have the power to change our world in huge ways. It's a journey we're all on together.
So to wrap up, I encourage you to keep, exploring and questioning and learning about AI. Stay informed, join the conversation, and be a part of shaping the future of this transformative technology.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of AI agents. See you next time.
It's a lot to think about, but this whole discussion about, agents interacting with the real world makes me think about robots. We haven't really talked about them yet. Where do robots fit into all of this?
Yeah, that's a good point. For a long time, robotics and AI have been kind of separate.
Right.
Robotics was all about the hardware, the physical stuff, and AI was about the algorithms, the software for intelligence. But with AI agents, we're seeing those two fields come together.
So we're finally connecting brains and brawn. Exactly. AI agents are giving robots a whole new level of, capability. They're not stuck with just pre-programmed routines anymore.
Right.
Now they can use language models, complex reasoning, and access tons of information to do much more sophisticated things in the real world.
It's like we're taking the idea of an AI assistant and giving it a body, right? So it can actually interact with this environment.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And it changes a lot. Imagine robots that don't just understand what we tell them, but can actually reason about it, learn from experience, and even make some decisions on their own.
That sounds like something out of science fiction. You're saying this is actually happening
But yeah.
because of AI agents.
Yeah, the research on AI agents is really pushing the limits of what robots can do. Imagine a robot at home that can, clean and cook, but also have real conversations, learn what you like, even anticipate your needs.
That's pretty amazing. But I have to admit, thinking about robots that's smart and independent also makes me a little nervous. How do we make sure they're safe? Yeah. And that, they stay out of control?
I understand. Those are really important questions. Researchers are working hard on safety protocols and ethical guidelines for these AI-powered robots. It's all about making sure they stay aligned with our values, respect our boundaries, and ultimately that we keep control.
So it's not about, robots replacing us, but more about them working with us.
Yeah.
Helping us do things we couldn't do on our own.
Exactly. The goal is to create robots that are partners, not, replacements. Robots that can work alongside us, make us better, and help us achieve more.
That's a much better way to think about it. But even with all those safety measures, there's still going to be a lot of, complicated issues and ethical questions as this technology keeps developing.
Oh, absolutely. Developing and using AI agents, especially in robotics, will require a lot of discussion and collaboration. We need everyone involved, researchers, policymakers, industry leaders, and the public, to work together and make sure these powerful technologies are used responsibly.
It reminds us that with any really powerful technology, we have to think about both the good and the bad. And it's a conversation that needs to keep going. right along with the tech itself.
I agree completely. Open discussion and, constantly reevaluating things are crucial to handle the complexities of these agents and make sure they're actually benefiting humanity. It's not just about the tech, it's about how we choose to develop it and use it in our lives.
Well, I think we've really gone deep into the world of AI agents today. We've covered a lot, the basic ideas, the technical stuff, how they could be used, and the ethics of it all. It's a topic that definitely makes you think about the future.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating conversation, and I think it shows just how fast AI is changing. What was, science fiction just a few years ago is becoming real.
And for our listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you a better understanding of this amazing and quickly evolving technology. AI agents have the potential to change our world in some pretty big ways, and it's something we're all facing together.
So, as we wrap things up, I'd encourage you to keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning about this whole world of AI. Stay informed, be part of the conversation, and help shape the future of this incredible technology.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI agents. Until next time.